Welcome to the epicenter of sports and entertainment. This is The Rude Dog Show. Now, here's your host, Rudy Reyes.
What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Rudy Reyes. I am the host, the one and only Rudy Reyes on TheRudeDogShow.com, live on Coachella Valley, live on Twitter, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, I am on it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you're probably wondering about my hat. You don't need to wonder about my hat. Don't look at my hat because everything else, it needs to be focused and centralized right here, right within the framework of where I'm sitting. So don't be afraid of the hat. This is an old school throwback. And I can't show you the back. Well, you would have to use your imagination on that one. Anyway, thank you for coming on to the show. I appreciate it. I needed to take a break, a hiatus, if you will. A very short one, but needless to say, it was needed. California is in a serious crunch for energy. So I'm not going to soak up as much energy as the sun is blazing in on the Central Valley, California. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Give me some comments, some love, ideas, things for future shows, anything you might have that would make what I do that much better, because the show is not necessarily just about me. It's about everybody else. It's about your input, your thoughts, your ideas, your concepts, anything that would help, again, make the show become that much better is what I am prepared to take into it. And I'm jotting down notes somewhere, wondering when the NFL season will be here. Oh, wait, that's Thursday night football. That's right. Football is back. And if anybody didn't know this, I am a Steelers fan. However, with that being said, I'm very objective. I call things as they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'm not going to make any excuses or apologize for my team or for my feelings in regards to how they laid an egg. Now, with that being said, they haven't touched the field yet. So where there's no field, you're not going to find an egg. And the only eggs you're looking for are the ones in your plate or ones in a hen house. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in. You know, Thursday Night Football is becoming more of a really, I would say a football-esque type of tradition, especially in people's houses. They've been missing the NFL for so long, looking to get the glory back in regards to the hits, the sacks, the touchdowns, the interceptions, and forced fumbles. And, of course, you get later on into the year with conference playoffs. Wild card playoffs, of course, Week 18 is certainly going to be an interesting one, and my team has yet to even remotely think about it, considering the Switcho Changeo Act, or as Coach Tomlin stated, the copy and paste was in play when Pickett was the third round, at least on paper, with a clerical error, as he stated, with Kenny Pickett as the third starting quarterback, and he's not. He's the second behind Mitch Trubisky, as you know, as they acquired during the offseason at $3 million, which is really a soft cap hit for Pittsburgh. And I would love to say that, thank you, Bill, for chiming in. I appreciate it. I had a great Labor Day weekend. Thank you. I hope you had a great one as well. And thank you, Miss Maria, for tuning in. Everybody knows who they are, and I certainly appreciate it. I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend as well, filled with nothing having to do with labor, but celebrating those that have came before us. And lay down the law in regards to what labor actually looks like. So my team and every other team, except for Thursday night's teams between the Los Angeles Rams and the Buffalo Bills, is a long way from Buffalo. I could tell you that right now. I would not want to play in Buffalo under winning conditions. And we've seen what happened last year when the Steelers went to Buffalo and basically forced the Bills to lay an egg. Now, that's very uncommon for the Bills because they had one of those prolific offenses. Defense was on point, but as we've seen throughout the regular season and postseason, that the Bills were in lack thereof in regards to urgency, corner play in the defense and the secondary, as well as being able to get to the quarterback by creating a lot more opportunities up front with different defensive looks. Now, with that being said, the Rams come into SoFi as being the favorites, to be honest with you, but only if they score, I think, a combined 53 points, which is quite interesting because I know that with Matthew Stafford being under center for the LA Rams, you certainly have the plausibility of getting into plus territory. Now, what's interesting to note here is that when you look at the yeah, absolutely had a wonderful weekend. Yes, indeed. And what's more wonderful is that now Buffalo is playing at SoFi as a Thursday night football opener. You couldn't get a better game than this, at least from the perspective of football's back. And that's always a great sign. Everybody knows 2 years ago there wasn't really a whole lot of football to talk about, but more importantly, it was a lack of fans in the stands. And we know that fans drive the NFL, fans drive the NBA, fans drive the NHL, Major League Baseball. There are so many different things that people just enjoy doing they just could not do. But glad we're here. Thank you, Benjamin, chiming in. Hello. Thank you. Hello right back at you, wherever you're hailing from. I appreciate you tuning in to the show. So the Buffalo Bills are not part of a Super Bowl hangover. However, had they played lights out, last season could have ended up being in the Super Bowl in the AFC versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, we know what happened to the Bengals. They were the runners-up, but they are about 30%, at least the running bet for them to get back to the Super Bowl. Not very good odds, but again, the season hasn't even started yet, so I'm not going to put the cart before the horse on it. But if you were to ride that cart and that horse out of town and that cart's filled, it's going to be a slow trekking. However, you do have a very prolific offense. You have corner work for the Buffalo Bills in the secondary and defense. They have a lot of tools. They have a lot of weapons. Their roster is very deep. But more importantly, it's about the Josh Allen show. It's about quarterback play. It's going to be very, very key for the Bills to try to take advantage of if you're Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen, as everybody knows, is from Fireball, California, which is not too far away from where I reside. And with that being said, played his years in Wyoming under Coach Bull. And having asked Coach Bull about Josh Allen and his thoughts in regards to how Josh Allen has essentially climbed the proverbial ladder to get to where he is right now, I think it's really important to note that Josh Allen was a guy who just continues to get better. The weapons continue to get better. Quarterback play becomes that much better. And with that, the prolific offensive catches, the tippy toes, the tiny toe tag sliders headed out to prevent the clock from running down. Very important, very key. And I think Josh Allen's going to have an absolutely fantastic year. And then there's probably a story that no one's really talking about. I'm not going to make light of this by any means, but Von Miller played with the LA Rams last year, won a Super Bowl ring with the LA Rams. And whether or not he's received that or will receive that upon the banner raising at SoFi, which is the first banner ever raised at SoFi, just in 3 years in its infancy, they're the ones who are going to bring home the bacon. Yet to see if the LA Chargers are going to be that prolific offensive team. They definitely beefed up on the defensive side of the ball, but the Rams are going to move onward past the ceremony. He's going to get his ring. And from what I've seen, unless he already has it, this thing is absolutely monstrous. I've seen Andrew Whitworth's ring, of course, retired from the LA Rams after playing with the Bengals just a year prior to that. So very interesting to note, excuse me, that when you look at his homecoming to play at a home opener against the Rams where he won a championship at SoFi, there's going to be a lot of emotions running high for him probably. It's not going to be very well noted. People aren't going to do a whole lot about that other than to watch him accept the championship that he won. He's a two-time Super Bowl winner with two different teams. Prior to that, he played at Super Bowl 50, where the Denver Broncos under Peyton Manning on the other side of the ball won a title, then known as Mile High Stadium. So a noted catchphrase in regards to what he's going to look like, but they went ahead and put all their eggs in one basket to acquire him. And I think more importantly, that's going to bolster the Buffalo Bills pass rush. You're going to have you're not going to have Tre'Davious White. He's not going to play a Thursday night, but you have Khalil Alam, who's been absolutely turning heads in training camp up to this point. And it looks pretty good, at least at this juncture, to know if the Bills are going to be able to do what they want to do against the LA Rams. Now, with that being said, they have the weapons to, I don't know, I would say outrule what Matthew Stafford and the Rams are going to do offensively. Don't forget they did lose some key pieces. I'm not going to say that OBJ was not he was an essential piece when they needed him to be, and he stepped up when he needed to be, and he needed to be exactly right where he wanted to be, which was in L.A. And certainly noted he's still a free agent. Teams have not reached out to him for whatever reason that I can't speak of. However, when we go back to last year, we look at what happened. Sean McDermott not very happy with that outcome, and you couldn't be. You shouldn't be, and you should strive through you look through the looking glass that much more further and dissect as to what that's going to look like moving forward in 2022. Now, more interesting is that when you look at this Buffalo Bills team, they are loaded. They have all the talent on both sides of the ball, which will enable them to do whatever they want on both sides of the ball. But more importantly, as I said, this is going to boil down to Josh Allen. His decision-making process is his ability to scramble and get out of the pocket and make things happen on the run. If that's what he does, and I don't know, it's really hard to believe that you find Von Miller on the other team's defensive side, because he was wreaking havoc along with him and Aaron Donald. Now, I'm not going to suggest Aaron Donald is not going to surpass TJ Watt. He could very well, but they have different respective positions. So is TJ Watt going to go back-to-back in defensive player of the year? That remains to be seen. I'd like to say yes. He was just absolutely humbled in regards to receiving that award. And I think more importantly, he was very deserving of the things that he did, the way that he did it, the way that he played. He plays with his heart on his sleeve, and he does it on every single snap of the ball. He's just one of those guys. If he's anything like his brother JJ, which I feel, based on what I know of him and watching him play and looking at his emotions, he has the capability of being that guy wanting to go back-to-back defensive MVP. Now, all that being equal, I look at the Bills and I think to myself, well, do you want to be more competitive? Do you want to be more consistent? Do you want to take more chances? A lot is going to rest on Sean McDermott, the call plays that he sends in, and his superstars to take care of that ball when that ball is snapped, to gain better field position. If they have to punt, better field position, and inside on the line of scrimmage, to be able to own that line of scrimmage on any given down, because that's going to enable the Buffalo Bills to continue moving the chains of directions that they needed to go when the offense takes the field from a defensive perspective. Now, with that being said, I look at the Bills as being a very deep, highly contentious AFC team that's going to go deep in the playoffs. And to be honest with you, there's no reason whatsoever, at least that I can think of, that I've noticed from this very heavy and talented roster of Buffalo Bills, why they can't go all the way. Now, all that being said, and with all things being equal, I look at the Buffalo Bills and think to myself, well, are they going to do the over? Is it going to be an under? They're 2.5 possibly this Thursday. Now, when I say that, I think to myself, man, is that going to be it? Is that going to be the amount of points? Is that going to be the spread? Is that what they're looking at right now? Live on Coachella Valley, this is Rudy Reyes on TheRudeDogShow.com. Go to TheRudeDogShow.com for all kinds of goodness, interviews, conversations, things that I've done throughout my years in broadcast. Of course, I had to take the hat out to just make things that much more competitive for those that know me, or for those that don't have any idea who I am. This gives you an idea who I am, or straight up, because football's here, and I must be a fan, because I wouldn't be wearing the hat if I wasn't, right? That's just how it goes. Everybody that has hats knows exactly what that's like and how to interpret that. When I look at the Bills, I think to myself, man, are they going to have an uphill battle against this very stiff Rams defensive line? And I think to myself, yes, they absolutely are. Aaron Donald has gotten in more often than not into the backfield on quite a few occasions throughout several games throughout last year's regular season. But don't forget, the Rams have probably the largest dart on their back. And when I say dart, I mean the target where the dart's actually going to sit. Where that dart lands remains to be seen because there's really no surprises anymore. It's not a huge expectation for the Rams other than to run it back as other teams have done before in order to get back to promised land. And that promised land is to get to another Super Bowl. Now, more importantly, the Rams are the defending champs. We can't take that away from them. Nobody can. And no one could take away anything that they have done, the accomplishments along the way, the injuries that a lot of these players faced. But more importantly, does this franchise have enough? Do they have the power to be able to get back as well as longevity and depth on the roster to get back to where they need to be, where they need to go? How do they need to get there? And when I look at the Rams, are they a little underrated? Yeah, probably. Do they play that to their advantage? They absolutely should be. And when I look at the expectations for the Rams, of course, everybody in Los Angeles is super hyped. Why? Because it's the first LA team to win a Super Bowl. Well, I think since, well, never. So I know the Raiders got close to that one, but look, the bottom line is that there were some very key changes, and those key changes ended up being very important changes. And I think you really can't remiss on that to think to yourself, well, this is going to be just another, Rams team. No, they're out for vengeance. They are out to do it again and run it back, even without Von Miller, because again, they still have the number one rated defensive lineman in Aaron Donald. Now, I think to myself, is this a proper expectation? Should the Rams absolutely decimate the Buffalo Bills? I don't know if they should. They certainly have the propensity. They have the ability to do just that. They have the firepower. They have the Super Bowl ring, as gaudy and big as they've become. But more importantly, they have all pro quality guys around them. Matthew Stafford on the opposite side of the ball. They're basically on a collision course to get to where they need to be. When you're talking about health of the roster, there's only a few injuries. Matthew Stafford has an elbow. Health, he was out for a short period of time, but shouldn't prevent the Rams from getting back to the glory, which is another Super Bowl. Now, with that being said, no team has won back-to-back Super Bowls other than the New England Patriots. And oddly enough, when I look at this team, could Coach McVay have something up his sleeve in order to get this team back, to keep them motivated, to keep them focused on the prize and what they have to do and how they need to do it so that way they can repeat? Now, interestingly enough, between the 2018 and the 2021 NFL team, there's always an uphill battle. And those looks defensively, I mean, the Rams have no more secrets. I mean, they did everything they needed to do. They pulled out all the stops. They required some of the talent that they had ascertained last year, and they certainly have the capability of doing the very same thing with free agents that are certainly sitting outside saying, hello, I'm waiting for the call. I know I'm good for the Rams, and the Rams are good for me. But more importantly, the expectations for the Rams aren't, let's just run it back. It's a matter of how they're going to do it. What ways are they going to accomplish that on both sides of the ball? Special teams is always a factor. Punting is always a factor. You see a lot of punters on the market that have been with their respective teams for some time and ended up getting cut for various reasons. Maybe they want to just net more per punt. That remains to be seen. I do think that when you look at the offensive line for the Rams, they're thick, they're stout, and the only thing that could really basically stamp on the fact that Stafford's going to have to run in and out of the pocket, which we know he doesn't have the wheels to do, is by making sure that offensive line is sure enough so that way he can execute what he needs to execute, get those first downs, move the chains, get in a field goal position when a first down just can't do, or you're third and short, you just can't convert. So you have to look at this and think to yourself, well, where's Cooper Kupp in all of this? NFL offensive MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Look, you're not going to miss a whole lot from Cooper Kupp because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. He just is that guy. Now, what's really interesting about this is that they're very, very deep offensively between if Kupp happens to go down, they have Van Jefferson. If that's an issue, Tutu Atwell, Ben Skornick, there's serious depth. Now, when you look at one former Ram in Von Miller, he's going to get on the edge. He's going to pursue. He's going to do it more often than not. He has one of the best moves that a defensive lineman can possibly have, with fantastic swim moves, some spins and swims. The guy's going to be all over you. So most importantly, when I look at the Rams of last year, they were, fifth in total passing yards, 25th in rushing yards. They're tied for seventh in points, and in points against, they were 15th. So it's not as if they were absolutely stellar in all facets of the game, because they weren't. But they needed to win, and what they did is win. And you have to win when you're in position to do so, and not take second place, not take runner-up, not be the one who wonders, well, what could have, should have, would have, had have been. No, we're doing it, and we're doing it now. We're doing it right. Now, when I look at Josh Allen's numbers from what he did last year, he had 17 games played. He only missed one game. Completed 409 passes out of 645 attempts. I mean, the guy is just absolutely golden. I mean, he knows where to throw the ball. He knows how to do it. And, of course, Mitch Trubisky, every game that he played now with Pittsburgh, won those starts. So it's not as if, of course, you have the split with Brian Daboll. He goes over to New York, and he's just one of those guys where you're thinking to yourself, man, what is this going to look like? Where you've seen it kind of happening in New York right now, when that offense for the Giants looks very similar and eerily similar to what Josh Allen ran under Brian Daboll as well while he was in Buffalo. And like I said, this team is absolutely loaded. But right now there are a couple health concerns for the Buffalo Bills and for the LA Rams, in that Quentin Morris, tight end, he's questionable. He went down September 4th. And then Daniel Hardy, a linebacker for the Rams, Van Jefferson, wide receiver. One's on IR. Jefferson's questionable. And when I look at the schedule, it doesn't really get a whole lot easier for the Rams. They take on the Chargers at home. Obviously, it's both of their houses, so they share a house. You have Houston, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Atlanta, Arizona, San Francisco, Dallas. That's a tough one. Carolina could be a potential tough one. San Francisco, interdivision game. Tampa Bay could be a lights out scenario for Kyler Murray if he decides to falter. Colt McCoy, I believe, is still there as their backup quarterback. New Orleans, Jameis Winston, does he look good enough? Is he going to be able to take the ball and literally just throw it instead of trying to run with it? Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes and that offense without Cheetah, but you still have a ton of weapons on that side of the ball against Seattle, Las Vegas, Green Bay, Denver, LA, Seattle. So again, this is divisional gameplay. The Rams' schedule is not going to be really super easy. But in preseason against LA for the first time, they won their first game. Against Houston, they lost that game. Cincinnati, they lost that game. Of course, that was a scuffle where Aaron Donald decided to use his helmet as a weapon. And that's a whole nother conversation for another show that I just will not have time for. And I've talked about this at length on my show quite a few times. This is Rudy Reyes on Coachella Valley. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I didn't mention YouTube Live as well here for just a little while longer. So the uphill battle for the Rams is certainly on the horizon. Buffalo decides to have their preseason game. They won their first two games, one against Indy, second one against Denver. Carolina, they lost that one. And, their winning streak ended, I guess you want to call it, in a preseason matchup. But they have LA, take on the Chargers, Tennessee, Miami, Baltimore. Then they take on Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Green Bay, Giants, Minnesota, Cleveland, Detroit, New England, New York, Miami, Chicago, Cincinnati, and New England. And, I think to myself, a lot of these could be potential wins against New York, New England. Maybe the Jets. That's always a high probability. And I don't know if Zach Wilson's going to do any difference or any justice when he's under center, when he comes back from that injury that he sustained during preseason, the non-contact accident, in fact. Again, a lot of moving parts for Buffalo, moving parts for the Rams. It would not surprise me to see Buffalo come into SoFi. And I know that the Rams want to protect their house as early and as often as humanly possible, especially when the Buffalo Bills are traveling from such a far ways away. Of course, weather in Buffalo, still the weather in Buffalo. It is a little getting chillier as the season goes on, especially in the holiday season. But LA is pretty sunny right now, baking at 100 plus degrees, and I'm in the armpit of California. So it's a little on the warm side, but the Buffalo is going to have some pretty good playing conditions in a stadium that's only 3 years old. So uh, I don't know that the Rams are going to be able to win. I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm picking Buffalo as my upset pick to start off the season, being the season opener for both teams and the NFL season as well. But actual kickoff doesn't happen until September 11th, which is a Sunday, which is the following Sunday, I should say. Right now, it's leaning a little bit towards the LA Rams in regards to the winning percentage and what that actually could look like for them. But again, more importantly, this is really about where both of these teams stand. Are they going to be that good? Or are they going to be that bad? Who's going to show up? Who's not going to show up? Who should show up and ultimately not be there at all whatsoever? I think Buffalo has their work cut out for them, especially at SoFi. The Rams will be on hype alert. But again, they do have that target on their back. So again, it remains to be seen what Buffalo is going to look like with Josh Allen under center. I suspect from a quarterback perspective, I'll talk about both quarterbacks here. Josh Allen, I've seen him make extremely intelligent decisions, very few poor decisions, in my opinion, throughout his years in the NFL. Matthew Stafford, as you know, coming over from Detroit after being there for 14 years, found his Super Bowl ring in the first year he was with the Rams. I think more importantly, it's about keeping that momentum. Don't have a Super Bowl hangover. Grab some hair of the dog and move on and be that guy that had taken the Rams to such promised land that will enable them to do what they need to do, what they want to do. What will prevent them from doing that is by making costly errors on both sides of the ball. But again, these teams are so closely matched, it is really difficult to put a finger on who's actually going to win this one. But I'm picking Buffalo as the upset, as I said. And I say that because it's going to boil down to quarterback play. I know Matthew Stafford's got a great arm. I've seen him make a few more mistakes than I have Josh Allen during the regular season. So I'm picking Buffalo in this one. I don't know that it's going to be a real big blowout. I'm not going to even bother trying to predict the score because I know it's going to be high. It could be a combined 53 points. Maybe it will cover the spread. That I don't know. But I know it's going to be a fantastic game. And little food for thought. The last 5 for the Bills, they only had 2 out of 6 losses. Everything else was 1, which is actually extremely well. But the Rams on the other side of the coin, also 2 losses and 3 wins. So both these teams are evenly matched from winning and losing their last 5. But I think more importantly, again, this is going to boil down to quarterback play. Who's going to outcoach who? And that will depend on, again, who gets the ball, when they get the ball, how they execute, when that ball snapped, and ultimately who makes the least amount of mistakes. And that's what it boils down to. This is Rudy Reyes on The Rude Dog Show, CoachellaValley.com, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. You name it, I'm on it. You can go to TheRudeDogShow.com where this show will be posted. So make sure you tune in for that one. I'll spread it like wildfire all over Twitter. Throw me a follow at Rude Dog Reyes. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the goodness that's on YouTube on my page. That's easy to find. Believe me, just type in Rudy Reyes and you'll see interviews galore. I don't want to compete with that other Rudy Reyes, whoever that guy is. But make sure you check it out. Again, go to TheRudeDogShow.com. Throw me a follow. I appreciate you guys listening, tuning in. It's been a great show, great times. I appreciate the input. Thank you Benjamin, Maria, and Mr. Senso. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Have a great night.